Hi, everybody. It's meteorologist Joe Chaffee on this Wednesday, November 2nd, and it is winter weather forecast time. I put them out. I started putting them out yesterday and this morning, and I'll summarize it for you. I will also, as you watch this video, there will be cards that will come up that will have links to these stories on my website, so you can link back to them if you like to do a little bit more reading. And this is the one that is actually going up later today, which I don't have a post up for yet. This is for New York City. Now, here's my logic on how I'm approaching this. I'm looking at all of the indicators, and I'm going to show you what happened with the final readings with the Siberian snow cover index and a few other things. But one of the takeaways for me is that I'm kind of sold on the idea that we're going to be no worse than average in terms of temperatures, and probably a little bit below average based on what I'm looking at when you take the 3-month period from December right through February. The thing with the snowfall is a lot trickier because you can have all the cold air you want, and if you don't have weather systems moving along to interact with that cold air, it's going to be cold and dry. And one of the primary concerns that I have is the fact that we still have this drought pattern. And I don't see, we had last week the first time it rained twice in 5 days in a week. It hadn't happened since early spring. So, that might be an early indication that the drought pattern may start to very, very slowly ease. But I want to see a lot more evidence of that. And in the meantime, it could wind up being colder than normal, but snowfall could still wind up being below normal. The two don't necessarily have to go together. Just as like the other way, you could have warmer than normal winters and still wind up with a lot of snowfall if it happens to snow every time it's cold. So anyway, with that regard, I'm forecasting for coastal areas an average winter. So for New York City, where the average snowfall is about 25 to 30 inches, so we're calling average. You get down to the areas very close to the shore, down in southern Brooklyn, southern Queens, coastal Staten Island that faces the ocean. We're talking more on the order of 20 to 25 inches, and then those amounts skew up. And I think as you start going further north, I think there we may wind up skewing snowfall above normal to some degree. So I went a little bit above normal, 30 to 35 inches, say North Bronx, and you get into southern Westchester and so on. So I'm thinking this year that it might be more along the lines of the further north and west you go, the more snow you're going to get. And part of that is the fact that, we've also seen a lack of nor'easters for the last few years, a lack of storms coming out of the Gulf of Mexico. So if these wind up being, from weather systems that are swinging in more from the west and north and rather than from the south and southwest, that might tend to favor areas further north with these smaller events, especially early on in the winter. So that takes care of New York City. So let's move to the southern half of New Jersey. Again, near normal, near average snowfall for the Jersey Shore east of the Garden State Parkway. Normal south of Route 195 is roughly 20 to 25 inches. And then as you get into the far south New Jersey, I'm thinking near or maybe just a shade below normal, if only because of the fact that, perhaps there might be a bit more of a temperature impact here. It usually is. But, South Jersey is kind of hard to figure sometimes because, you can get these situations where they wind up getting, snow, and the snow doesn't get further north than, say, central New Jersey. So if you get a couple of those kind of events during the winter, that could right there make up the 10 to 20 inches. So let's just say close to normal there. In northern New Jersey, so let's jump to North Jersey. Okay, so here's what I decided for North Jersey. You go north of Route 195, I'm thinking near to slightly above average snowfall, so the range would be 25 to 35 inches. By the way, I also think that we're going to probably see maybe more smaller events as opposed to last year where we got just the one large event, really. I'm tending to think that we're going to see more, small to moderate events to total this number rather than getting it all at once. if only because of the fact that, again, this drought pattern has me concerned on the idea of whether there would be a big storm or not. I mean, there's always going to be at least one or two of those threats during the winter anyway. Whether they materialize or not remains to be seen. And then, you go up into North Jersey, mainly if you go, say, north of Route 78 and Route 80 and on up into the northwestern counties. I'm thinking above average snowfall. Now, just to be clear, most of northwest New Jersey average snowfall is 40 inches or higher, and there are a lot of pockets in elevated areas where the average is on the order of 50 to 60 inches or more. So I kind of painted a broad brush here. Above average would be 40 to 50 inches, and then you start to take into account elevation. Those numbers are going to skew higher. So the bottom line is I think it'll be above normal for northwestern New Jersey. Now, on Long Island, I went for near normal on Long Island, but Long Island is a bit of a funny place because over the last 15 or so years, Long Island has done exceptionally well with snowfalls. There's been so many coastal events, so many events that really just affected Nassau and Suffolk County, and some that just affected Suffolk County, where we wound up with 1 foot plus snow through all of Suffolk County, and you get to the Suffolk-Nassau line, and suddenly the snow drops down to less than an inch, and by the time you get to New York City, they never saw a flake or an ice pellet out of it. So Long Island's a funny place to predict. There's also a pocket where there seems to be an area here that this is proven over the years from interior northwestern Suffolk County, and then moving on into northeastern Suffolk County, parts of northeastern Suffolk County, I guess the western edge of northeastern Suffolk County, where there's a 30 to 35 inch area, and that's normal. So they tend to get more snow. There's some elevation here, and you get an effect sometimes with the wind off the sound. But generally, 25 to 30 inches, 20 to 25 south of Sunrise Highway along the shore, and that pocket of 30 to 35 as you go into towns like Smithtown, Brookhaven Town, etc. So we've done New York City, we've done Long Island, we've done New Jersey, so we do South Jersey. Now we go to the Hudson Valley in Connecticut. And here, again, I think above normal snowfall just inland of the coast, 35 to 40 inches when you go north and west of I-95. And then you start to get into the 40 to 50 inch range between routes 58 and 84. And you go from Danbury northward, I think it's above normal snowfall on the order of 50 to 60 inches for the season, and then that number skews upward. By the way, the snowfall total numbers that I'm giving you, I'm trying to give you a reference to what's average here. So the numbers are really not that out of line. So they're a little bit above the normal. So at least you have some idea what you're supposed to get. And by the way, this is for the entire winter season, the snow season, which goes basically from November 1st to whenever the last snowfall happens, if it happens in early April. So I'm not saying we're going to get all this snow in just the 3 months of December, January, and February. Now, let's look at the Siberian snow cover, which is huge. I mean, it finished, we always, particularly looking at that area south of 60 degrees north, and with the final month indices on the Siberian snow cover, it finished almost in a virtual tie for number one with the winter of 2014-2015. Now, I don't have it here, but there's a sub-index that just focuses on that southern edge. Okay, that index finished at an almost 40-year high. You have to go back to 1975, the October of 1975, to find where it was equal to it, and also the winter of 2002. 75-76 was an average winter on the coast with snowier amounts as you go north and west, but it was peppered with a lot of small events. And 2002, 2003, one of my favorite winters, which I call the Suffolk County winter, because that was one of those winters where Suffolk County on Long Island got nailed storm after storm after storm. And if you went just about 10 or 20 miles west of the western county line toward New York City, got less than half of what Suffolk County got. So I was out here constantly having to deal with snow. Okay, and one last thing. I'm going to look at the indices going forward. You know, we've been talking about this idea of a pattern change beginning around the middle of the month. And when we look at the teleconnection indices, they all seem to continue to point to this idea. What's particularly interesting to me is the East Pacific Oscillation Index, which is now forecast to go negative around the 10th of the month and stay negative through the 15th. So a negative East Pacific Oscillation creates an alleyway for cold air to come into the United States out of northern Canada. The North Atlantic Oscillation trends to neutral and then starts to trend a little negative as we go to mid-month, and that is a positive. That is showing at least displacement of cold air coming down from eastern Canada and Greenland. So we have that ingredient there. And the PNA, which is the Pacific North America Index, for the tendency of strong ridging to develop in the Northwest up into Canada to, again, open an alleyway for cold air to come down, very strongly positive right through the period. I mean, usually the range is from 0 to 200 on the index, and it's well over 300. So we're talking super positive here on this index. So all three indexes seem to be pointing in the direction that we've been going in with regards to this prospect of a pattern change. So snow lovers can celebrate the Siberian Snow Cover Index at a high and equal to 2014, 2015. And in the meantime, again, I'll put I just check the video, look at the cards. You can link to all of these stories on the website, meteorologistjoechaffee.com. And don't forget also weatherlongisland.com, nycweathernow.com, and ssstormchasers.com.